I'm here today with LeeAnn Romine, and LeeAnn just did an amazing intuitive reading for me, you guys. She's incredible. But today we're going to get to know her a little bit and her journey, and we're going to be talking about some really cool things, the connection between psychology and spirituality, which is really what this podcast is all about. So I just want to introduce LeeAnn to all of you and let her share her wisdom. And then we're going to talk about how you can get involved with some events that LeeAnn has toward the end of the episode. LeeAnn, thanks for being here. Thanks for being on the show. It's always so nice talking with you.
Thank you for having me. I love this connection. I really feel that with you. And just being able to share my perspective, it's exciting for me, yes.
Yeah, me too. Actually, when we were talking, we met online and then we had a little phone conversation just to talk about what we would kind of gear toward an episode and formatting it. And we have a lot of things in common. I mean, the connection with psychology was a surprise to me, and I didn't know that we had that. But you have a background in psychology.
I do. I have quite a bit of training. I am not certified by any means, but I've had enough training in college courses and doing all kinds of social work. And I also have the other end of it where I have been in therapy myself many times through many years. We have a family line of depression and anxiety. And my first husband also was schizophrenic. So I've had a little bit of that around me and had to learn how to work in that world. So yeah, it's been a part of my life.
Yeah. Can we talk about that a little bit, like your own personal experience with your mental health and how that kind of geared you toward finding healing through spirituality?
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I have been psychic all my life and very open, but I also come from a background of parents who were very religiously constrictive. They were Jehovah's Witness, so everything that moved and breathed that didn't come from there was evil. And so I had to learn how to balance all of that and to figure out that I wasn't the evil one. And then you add that in with the depressive genes that I carry. And I left home at 14. I couldn't handle it anymore. I just couldn't handle. I was out too late one night with a friend from high school, or, I skipped 2 grades. So it was my sophomore year. Anyway, I was out too late, and her boyfriend, who was living with her and her family at the time, was 21, so 7 years older than me, who was driving me home. And I realized my dad's truck wasn't there, meaning I was in big trouble. I was going to get really in trouble again. And I just couldn't deal with it. I could not deal with it. And this man I had just met said, you just don't have to go home. We were married for 11 years.
Oh my gosh, that's how you got married to your first husband.
I did not go home. It's not the prettiest story going, but yeah.
But wait, wasn't that your friend's boyfriend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. It's not the prettiest story. I was 14. I didn't know.
Did your friend forgive you?
Yeah, she did finally. I mean,
okay.
We were meant to be together, obviously, or it would not have happened the way that it did. I mean, I look back on it now as a 60-year-old woman. I'd have put him in jail in a heartbeat, and I think my parents probably wanted to. But I was already an adult in my own head and living my own life. So I did not see it that way. We had, I lost my first baby during childbirth. That was shortly thereafter. And then I got pregnant again and had our son. Amazing reason for doing what I did. And we were together for, like I said, for 10 years. But that time that I spent gave me a space to be able to delve into my own spirituality, as scary as that was for me. He was Jewish, which, I mean, you just go throwing all of these things together, not practicing, but that was a big part of, what I was trying to learn. So I started studying religion all over the place. I wanted to know everything about all of it. And at the same time, I was getting into accounting and doing my things there and all this neat stuff going on in my head. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, the depression. So you have all this amazing stuff going on, and then bam. And I couldn't function. Just absolutely could not function. And
do you know what the trigger was?
The trigger, I think, for me was, that's a really, really, really good question. I think I opened up the doorway to a new world that I didn't understand. So it was fear of not knowing. I had never been given the tools necessary to fend in a world. Number one, I left home way too soon, so I didn't have that opportunity, but was not given a way to understand what the whole world was built on. It was very secluded and sheltered. So I think it was just fear. And then the hormonal changes that go through your body after pregnancy and everything, I think that really kind of set in for me.
Yeah. How old were you when you were pregnant the first time?
The first time was 15. I had my son at 17. So I was pregnant for 2 full years there, and I wasn't even an adult yet. So,
so there's the hormonal changes that come with your body coming into adulthood, and then pregnancy on top of it. I mean, that's
it was a lot.
Overload.
It was a lot. Yeah. And I talk about my parents is they were scared. They were terrified for me. They loved me dearly. And I don't blame them for anything, but they had me so secluded that created. But I look back on it and think, all the good stuff that came out of it. I was sitting at work one day, 10 years later, and I had spoke to my husband, and he said, "What's for dinner?" And we talked about it, went home, and my dad came across the street. We had bought the house across the street from them. And he said, "Dave's not coming home." I just talked to him. What do you mean he's not coming home? It was years before I found out that he had signed himself into a hospital because he was schizophrenic, which I didn't know. He hadn't been diagnosed yet, but he was hearing voices that was to kill my son and myself. And that was the only way he knew how to protect me. Well, I didn't know that at the time. I just know, boom, I'm alone. So I went from home 14 to now 24 alone, completely alone. I gave back. I had just bought a brand new T-Bird and our home, and I had to give it all away, just give it all away. So I thought, you know what? I'm doing something big here. And I went and I quit my job at the accounting firm, and I went to work for a metaphysical bookstore.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Total 180.
Total shit. I was so scared to walk into that store. Well, I just wanted to know, what was this? I knew it was psychic, but I'd never really delved into what does that mean. So I went into this store, and the gal came up to me and she's like, you need to listen to these tapes. And they were channelings from Lazarus, which was a channeled being that was very popular in the late 70s. And I can remember taking that tape home and pushing that button back in the old VCR days, right? I just knew the devil was going to come through that screen and get me. And what I heard on that tape changed my life. Mm-hmm. We create our own reality.
Yes.
That set me on a path of pure discovery. And I haven't looked back since.
Yeah, really that was my experience with Abraham Hicks. As soon as I heard Abraham, I was like, this is wisdom from source. Like, this is it.
It's just that you can look at it through quantum physics. You can look at it through religion. This is real. This is how this works.
Yes.
Yeah. And you start working with that and healing with that. And that's where the power comes in.
Wow. I have to ask you, recently I was talking about mental health and spirituality, and the idea of schizophrenia came up because I had this thought of how many people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and you and I need to talk about diagnosing because we have a thing on that. Mm-hmm. But how many people feel like they have this mental health disorder who are really just receiving information from, the spiritual realm. So what's your take on that?
My take on that is I would say 90% in one form or another. I think there are what's called attachments, especially for people who do any kind of drinking or drugs at any point in time. And it doesn't have to be abusive, just the fact that breaks down our own natural defenses, and other entities can attach. And that can, you got something else in there talking, it will drive you nuts, and it will it shoves people out of the way.
So that could go positive or negative.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
And it can change through life too, because you just have this open doorway with things coming in, and they've lost so much of themselves and that's where a lot of the anger and the pain comes in, because they have no control anymore. I think with schizophrenia too, I think people sometimes are just born without the filters that we have, that we are given to live in this 3D world, which is an illusion. And if those filters are broken, which you think of the other parts of the body that can break down, the brain can break as well, you're going to be seeing, sensing, and hearing things that are they there or not?
Right.
Another dimension. I don't know. But they don't know that either. So they don't have any parameters. How can you live in that world? It can't help but go wrong. But so giving someone drugs just makes it worse. Locking them up, in some cases, needs to be done for their own safety. But being able to work with them in a way of finding out, how are we going to know if we don't ask and then listen?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of these people, they don't understand that there is a non-physical reality.
No.
Right?
And it would scare them if they did.
How scary is that? Yes. Well, it's scary that what they're experiencing because they don't have a way to understand it. But if they had a basis in spirituality, they might be able to go, oh, okay, I'm connecting with something
else. A gal
else
on TikTok right now, and she has episodes. And she tapes all day long so she can put these episodes out there. And what I see watching those when they pop up, I scroll on by. I can't handle it. And she's just sitting there. I mean, you could see her eyes, and sometimes she acts like she's talking to somebody, but the energy around her, and I read people's energy, I have nothing to do with it. That's intense. Yeah, that's intense.
The bad shivers.
Yeah, exactly. And how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah.
The psychology world is not prepared to deal with that. Religion has done a terrible job of it.
Yeah.
There's got to be a blending of something that matters in this world that can make some real changes for a whole bunch of people who we are losing them right now. How many teens are going through times where they don't have anything to hold them together? The amount of knowledge that they have in their hand, in their phone, is more than most of us would have gotten in a lifetime. And they have it all there, but they don't have any guidance. They have no anything. What are they going to do?
Yeah.
And then you add all of those kinds of things on top of it, and we're needing some help here.
Yeah, I really, with my own kids, am trying to teach them about their emotions being their guidance system so that they can tune into who they really are and be guided by that instead of looking externally for guidance. Exactly. I mean, these kids came into the world at the perfect time. They're choosing this. And they are here because they have their own desires and wanting to expand in their own way. Right. And you're right. Without that knowledge, it could go into a really negative place. But if they learn, learn that they have that guidance within themselves, and all they have to do is
scroll on by. That's not a thing. Or I'm intrigued up to a certain point, but they won't make the decisions that could open them up to all sorts of trouble. Sorts of trouble.
Yeah.
I my whole heart is behind everything that you do when it comes to the psychology and blending real based stuff. I'm such an actionable person. I love to get into the theory and the this and the that. That's fun for me. But when it comes to actionable stuff, what is this going to do for the person that you're talking to? How does it help them? And this is a whole new arena. We got to figure this out. Yeah. There's not a lot going on with that right now, of being able to blend the two. It's always been so separate. You know, you either go to church or you go to a therapist, or you go to, how about we start blending a bit of this together with some common sense and find the answers that'll really heal people and give them their life back.
This is what happens
with drugged up people running around, or people that have to be locked up, which they don't even do that anymore. We don't even have that safety net.
So you are a living example of this, right? Because
goodness, yes. I would have been, 10 years I spent. That was another portion of my life after I had my daughter, who was 25, second lifetime here. I spent 10 years in one room. I don't know if you want to call it agoraphobia. I don't think that That was really it. I just could not deal with the cope with all of the sensory input for anything around me other than my room. I had to have my safe space. And my husband, bless his heart, provided that for me. My family was a huge support system going through that. And what I did is I delved into all that learning I'd done. Yeah. I did what I do. I did my readings on the phone. I was all right with doing that. If I called, if I had a phone call coming in, forget it, wasn't going to happen. And then I had ballooned up to almost 469 pounds.
No way. Yeah. Really?
Yes. I didn't move for 10 years. I stayed in one room. I'm serious. I had a waterbed.
Wow, LeeAnn.
We had rebuilt the old Victorian home here. And I went up in my one room, and that's where I stayed. I literally had my little area right there.
Hey, I wanted to jump in here real quick to remind you that the Anxiety Relief Summit is going on right now. It started 2 days ago on Monday, July 24th, 2023, and it goes all the way through August 6th. So you can sign up at any time to get your free access. You'll get an email each day with new speakers, including yours truly. In order to sign up, go to www.lauralevitt.ca/Katie, Katie, and get your free spot. All of these speakers have a unique perspective on how to soothe anxiety. And if you're somebody who's living with anxiety or has ever experienced anxiety, then you know that there's nothing else you want in that moment but relief. Whether this is something that you've only experienced a couple times, or if this is something you're living with on a regular basis. There's really a lot of information to be gathered through this summit. And I really want you guys to take that opportunity to have it for yourself, if it's something that you feel like would benefit your life. There's so many people out there that really want to help to ease the negative aspects of life and provide more satisfaction. And that's definitely why I'm doing it, because we're here to live our most satisfying life. And that's impossible to do when you're in a state of anxiety. So even if you get one tip that makes the difference, that's a huge win. The summit is hosted by Laura Levitt, and she's got 25 plus speakers. So there's really a lot of opportunity for you to find something that resonates with you. In addition, all of the speakers are offering some kind of free content, which you'll also learn about when you sign up. For me, I'm offering a free one-on-one law of attraction coaching session. And everybody that comes to me through the summit, I'm asking them to sign up for a free trial on my Patreon for the aligned tier. But for you, my listeners, if you want to get entered into the drawing, all you have to do is go to Patreon and sign up for the free trial of any of the 3 tiers that I offer. That's the Intrigued tier, the Empowered tier, or the Aligned tier. You can cancel at any time you want, but it's really a great opportunity to get entered into the drawing and get a one-on-one session where we can apply law of attraction to anything that you want to manifest in your life. I hope you guys will take advantage of this summit. Check out my interview, and I hope you find some value in it. Okay, let's get back to this interview. Okay. We have to talk about the emergence then, because how did that come about? I mean, 10 years in a row.
I think again, it was for my child. I had a child, and I think that was, what do they call that, postpartum? Yeah. And then my mother-in-law, she died, but she went through a period, she had cancer, and we watched her die slowly, and that triggered a lot in my brain. And I just couldn't cope anymore. But I know full well that my soul was saying, you're on the wrong path here. You were meant to do the work that you need to do, and you've gotten way off base. And it put me back into delving into every ounce of spirituality. Oh, I got into the ghost hunting. What was that all about? It was so, what's all that called? So I had to learn a little bit about that. And then the more talking I did, and I've been very blessed to be connected with some of the best people in the business always. The lady Jan Ross that owned a bookstore, she was my mentor. And I got to meet all those people. So I just started calling all these people I knew and delving in there and then practicing with myself and coming up with ways that work and helping people heal. So as much as I didn't want to leave, I was already helping people heal. And then I had lost some weight and got myself out of the depressive mode, but still didn't want to leave home. So we moved from there out to the country. These gorgeous, under these oak trees. I have this amazing piece of property. I just absolutely adore it here. And we had a great life. My husband ran rental properties and everything was wonderful until it wasn't. And here 5 years ago, I had cancer, got through that. He ended up with what they were calling pneumonia for about 6 months until I finally said, we're heading into the hospital, and he was being misdiagnosed. It was congestive heart failure. So he was put in the hospital immediately, and he underwent some open heart surgery. And well, it was 2 weeks later, I was given breast cancer diagnosis.
Wow.
Sitting in the heart surgeon's office. And the next phone call was from the mayor of the town that we live in, taking your properties. My husband had been making mistake after mistake because his brain was not functioning because of not having any oxygen for all that time.
Wow. And it rains at
was making mistakes, literally enough that, and the people that were working with him, the code enforcement and everything else, had set it up to where the minute he made a mistake, they swooped right in. Wow. And I said, I can't. I'm in the hospital. And he said, if you don't get here now, and he had the TV crew, I'm leveling the place. It's gone. We're taking it from you. And I realized at that point, I couldn't hide anymore. I just plain couldn't hide anymore. So that week we lost everything, our income. And I was able to put my business back online, go through my own cancer surgery, get him back on his feet. And 4 years later, we now match that income fine through the work that I do. And I'm not beholden to anybody.
Wow.
Yeah. So it just took that, I think crisis sometimes is what brings us out. You have to. I had to. I'm a strong woman. I didn't hide because I was weak. I hid because I had to learn something. And for some reason, probably because I'm so stubborn, they had to put me in a little space to get it out. But what I learned to be able to do at that time was to connect with people's soul. And that's what I learned. It was that connection, was the ability to do that. And I think keeping my own ego, my own preconceived humanness out of the way, that's what I gave myself, was to be able to do it that way.
You had to isolate. You just had to turn the whole world off and just focus.
And raise a daughter and everything at the same time. Bless her heart. I missed all of her growing up. She had to come up to me. I can remember going to a couple of her. She was a cheerleader, and I would go out, but I at 400 some pounds. I mean, just that itself, getting me up and down the stairs in a 3-story house was something else. It did a lot of damage for our relationship that I've had to heal. But the ability to heal all that now it just all comes together. There's reasons for everything that we experience, and it's just our job to put it together now. What are we doing with all that?
And does she see it that way too? I mean, does she see the benefit in it?
Yeah, definitely. I think, she had her teenage years where we had some, just stuff go on. I think she always felt hard for me because she could see the light and they know, my IQ is 147. I'm bright. I don't have any of it. It's like, what is going on? Has to be something. Mom's a good person, so something's going on here. But I think when she realized that I was able to put it back together and then turn around and give back everything I had been given for my husband to put him back on his feet, I think that did a lot of good. I think it really helped a lot.
What an amazing story. I mean,
I've had a lot
of extremes.
Yeah. Lots of extremes. Goodness, yes. But that's, I'm intense. That's part of just who I am. I'm an intense person, but I also have the intensity of love, and I can be just as quiet. So
Wow. Well, we've kind of thrown out some diagnoses, and I want to make sure and touch on this. This is something that you and I really connected on when we were talking, is this whole, we got to kill the labels. And yeah, that's my spiel, right? Like since I talk about mental health and psychology, there's diagnosing that goes along with that. And so on the podcast, I talk about that, and I talk about how I hate it because anytime you label something, you give it more power, and then people adhere to it, and it becomes a part of who they are. And I don't I don't agree with that. And I just want you to share what your perspective is on labels and diagnosing.
My perspective on labels, oh my goodness. It goes, every area of life needs to open up to that, including the world I work in. You can astrology and human design and all of these things we want to know about ourselves. Just like when you go to a doctor, I want to know what's wrong with me. Help me. And they tell you, and that becomes your prison. It just seems to stop there rather than saying, this is something you're dealing with. Use it for its good. Heal it if you need to. It's the same thing with going to the doctor. You get a diagnosis of, I have a broken elbow. That doesn't mean I am a broken elbow. It means this is an issue that I got to deal with. Let's fix it. That doesn't label me. And we forget to do that if it has anything to do with psychology, spirituality, whatever. And it does have to stop because it becomes a prison.
Yeah, I agree.
But
as soon as
using
you
the words,
I am.
Yeah. Using the words are important because we need to understand ourselves and know what choices to make. But then literally labeling yourself and becoming that person, you're a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's not good unless that's really what you're here for. And I don't know many people who are.
Yes. I feel like that, when let's use agoraphobia as an example, because you brought that up. When somebody has been diagnosed with agoraphobia, then they start saying things like, well, I can't do that because I'm agoraphobic.
That's right.
They've gone and they have limited themselves and they have accepted it. And now they're not even wanting to leave or experience life outside.
Yeah, it's easier. I have this ailment. It's why I am who I am, rather than saying there's an ailment. How do I fix that?
Yeah.
We're not wired that way. We need a little bit of a push to get over that. So yeah, I think that labeling can help with guiding. When people are really confused, I don't know why I feel this way. Why can't I go out? Well, there's a disease called, and it has to do with this part of your brain and this part of your brain. And then if you work on this and this and this and this, so you're not giving them, this is what you are. It's just, this is the symptom. And here's some things to do to fix it. Whole different dynamic in the mind. So as much as I hate it, the basis of having something to hang on to is vital for a lot of people, especially with mental illness. They have to have something. It's like the crazy person saying, tell me I'm not crazy.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
You have to have something, but then to help them to understand that's not who you are.
Yeah.
It's just a symptom of something going on. How can we alleviate that symptom? Or how can you figure out how that symptom is actually a God-given gift to help get you to something else that you need to be doing? Because that happens more often than not.
I agree 100%. We have to have these negative things happen to define what it is we want. That gives us clarity. And you mentioned alleviate, and I want to touch on that because that really is what it's all about. It's about soothing. It's about feeling better. And sometimes when you get a diagnosis or a label that explains what you're going through, it's validating. And you're like, finally, somebody understands what I'm talking about here and what I'm experiencing. The key is, though, not to absorb it completely and just accept it as this is the way it is now forever.
Right. That's right. It's just to say, okay, now what do I do with this?
Right.
What do I do with it? I have a nose. What do I do with it? I learn how to use it. It's just a part of who you are. And then you decide, and we all want to change. It's part of our DNA to change and evolve and grow. And so unless we want to be caught in a web, we need to be changing and growing. And I think that psychologists and people who are in positions of leadership need to have every tool they can have to help other people move through those spaces.
Which is a great segue into discussing how you are doing that, because that's what you do with people, right?
That is exactly what I do with people. I started doing readings, and that's pretty much where I was for a very long time. And then I went and I got coaching certifications, and I really love business. I just have a thing for it. I enjoy seeing people succeed. and take an idea and make $1 million. To me, that's amazing. I just think it's great. And everybody I've ever worked with has been able to do that. And they're the people giving back. So it's like, how amazing is that? But what I do with people is to use all of the gifts that I have, connect with their higher self, and then connect them with their higher self. Because I believe your higher self needs to be your CEO. And if you'll build your business on that backbone, you can have the most tech business of the world. Has nothing to do with anything spiritual, but if you'll build it with that backbone, you'll never fail. Absolutely never fail, because you're on your soul's purpose. And that's what I do, is I help people, number one, discover that, and then give them all those tools that I spent all those years learning, so they know exactly how to manifest. I manifest about anything. I've done it a million times, but I teach them how to do it for themselves. Just do it for yourself. You can do this. But to do that, you have to get all the stuff out of the way. And that's where the psychology comes in, because a lot of that is very psychologically based. But then the techniques that I've learned, and then you add the spirituality in, and it blends together where people are healed. They are healed. And then from there, they just grow. And so I have programs that I work with. I love working with my one-on-one clients. I have an application process to come in because I take so much time with them. It's pretty intense. And then I also have a free thing that I do every month called the Rise Series. It's an event where I just want everybody to come in and get a little taste. I do a little bit of talking about it. I just kind of pick out of the audience. There's a form that you fill out and you can ask questions or whatever. And I just want this to grow and become a way of people thinking. I want leaders together. That's what I do. I've just got it all over the place at the time, but I do have programs. My business is called Ignite You Global. And the reason for that is to ignite people's soul. Most of my business is done around the world. I have clients in Dubai, in Australia, and just all over the place. And they've come to me. My entire business is built on a referral basis also. So I've just been able to cobble all these amazing people, and I want you all together. Let's change this world one little itty bit at a time. And so come to the Rise event. That's the best way to do it.
That's like dipping your toe in to do the Rise event, because if you're not sure what it's all about, you can kind of just come in, do this free event where you start to see the benefit. And I mean, everybody, all of us, we all have something to heal. And then you're talking about, and then I can help you make $1 million. So who doesn't get on board with that?
While you're healed and while you're impacting the world with what you do best. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this isn't just for business owners. This is anybody.
No, it's for anybody.
Idea.
That's just where my passion, I just have a thing. I can look and say, here's a program you could create. Here's something you could do with what you have. And it just rises people above where they're at right now. And bam, things start working. Yeah.
So for all of you listening, if you have a business and you want to just improve it, take it further, LeeAnn can help you with that. If you just have an idea, or you're just feeling like this information really resonates with you and you want to just taste it a little bit, then you could do the Rise event, see if it feels like something.
Check out my social media. I'm LeeAnn Romine, all over the place. Just look for my name. And there's a little bit of something. People either love me or not. And I'm good with that. If they love me, they're in my world, and I love them like family. We heal together.
Well, I think it's clear that your energy is warm and accepting and welcoming. I think everybody can hear that. I know I can. I feel it from you. And I encourage you guys to check out LeeAnn and receive some of the benefit for yourself. LeeAnn, thank you so much for being here. I love talking with you. It's just always such a pleasure.
Such an honor. Thank you.
If you like being able to watch the podcast, make sure to let me know by subscribing to this channel.